Right, this is question 6 from your homework sheet on complex numbers and equations, and what you're asked to do was find the values of a and b if this is true, and hence find the square root of this. So to start off with, we're going to need to expand this expression here, and to do that, if you think about just a normal expansion of brackets, we'll have a times a, we'll have a times bi, but twice. So we'll have 2abi, and then we'll have bi times bi, which will give us b squared, I squared. Now don't forget, of course, the fundamental part of complex numbers is that I squared is -1. Hence, a squared plus 2abi minus b squared is our expansion. At this point, we can then equate the real parts of the left-hand side with the real parts of the right-hand side. So that gives us, equating real parts, a squared minus b squared, the real parts of this expression, is equal to 3, and equating the imaginary parts, we get 2ab is equal to -4, because they're the coefficients of I on both sides. First of all, dealing with this, because we've basically got a pair of simultaneous equations now, a is going to be equal to -4 over 2b, which means that's the same as -2 over b. We can now take that and substitute it into the left-hand side over here to give us -2 over b squared minus b squared is equal to 3, and this will allow us to try and solve and work out b. Just expanding these brackets, we'll end up with 4 over b squared minus b squared equals 3. At this point, as you get more experience, you'll notice that we can make a quadratic out of this, or actually a quartic, but we can treat it like a quadratic. So if we times both sides by b squared, we'll end up with 4 minus b to the power 4 equals 3b squared. And if I move everything onto the right hand side, so adding on b to the power 4 and taking away 4, we end up with essentially something we can treat as a quadratic. And factorising, leaving us with b squared in both brackets, we're going to need two numbers that multiply to give -4 and add to give 3. So there's going to have to be more positives than negatives, giving us +4 and -1. So we've got two possibilities now. Two brackets multiplied together to give 0. One of them's got to be 0. So we've got b squared could be -4, or b squared could be 1. Seeing as b has got to be a real number, that's not possible. So that just leaves us with one option over here, that b is going to be ± 1 if we square root that. So we've got b equals 1 or b equals -1, and if we substitute them back into our expression for a, we'll find out we get a equals -2 over 1, which would be -2, or a is -2 over -1, which makes a 2. So we've got our two possibilities. We've got a is -2 and b is 1, or a is 2 and b is -1. Now don't forget, the question asks us to hence find the square root of 3 minus 4i, which is essentially just square rooting both sides of that original expression. So that means the square root of 3 minus 4i is going to be either our first scenario, which is -2 plus I, using these two values here, or our other values of a and b, which is 2 minus I.